What's going on? And welcome to the Thursday episode of the Other Side of the Firewall, where we talk about the latest and greatest cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made to the other side of the proverbial firewall. Speaking of which, on the show today, I have Reginald J. Davis. He is a senior cloud solutions architect, as well as a co-pilot enthusiast, IEEE member, a podcaster, as well as a mentor, public speaker, and thought leader. Like this guy is doing it all. Very thankful he was able to make it onto the show, and we actually met for the first time. The first time we ever met was in person. So that's always the opposite. I meet everybody on the podcast first, then I meet you in person, right? So we did the opposite, and it was dope. It was a dope event. So shout out to Stats on Stats. But I want to focus on you, sir. So you are a podcaster on Dem Tech Folks, right? So DEM, so Develop Every Mind Tech Folks.
That's correct, sir. I am. Actually, you're probably going to tape after this.
Okay. Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Yeah. Another dope podcast. Like, so I met Rico, who was one of your co-hosts, in person at that event. The first time I met him was actually on the podcast, virtually. And yeah, I met Ebony, not even though she was part of the podcast, because I met her first, but it was part of a panel for CyberX 2023. So it was right after I got out of the military. They had the event. I was asked to be on a panel. Amazing. Like it really did set the tone for my transition. So shout out to Ebony as well. But I definitely want to talk to you about your background, your experience. I always forget up front, so definitely continue to check out the show. We're on your podcast platform of choice. We're also on UDJY 99.1 FM in the Atlanta metro area, Channel 10 in DC, Fairfax, public access. We've gone from daily to weekly. Appreciate you. And please hit the website, ramcyber.io, where you can find all of our current initiatives, the book, the podcast, all the things. I just stood up Ryan Williams Sr., all spelled out.com. And that's where you can find my digital portfolio with all the current stuff. So that's it for me. No more plugging. So you, sir. If you can introduce yourself and your background, we go from there.
So my name is Reginald Davis, and I am like you said, I'm a senior cloud solution architect for a really large IT company. I won't say the name only because I don't want to be held liable if I say something stupid. I've been in IT now. I think my first official IT job was 2001. So it's been about 25 years or so. And I've gone through a lot of different industries, but most of my focus has been on federal government and federal agencies. So I've been around, I've been privileged enough to go around the world working and traveling with my family. So I have a lot of travel experiences with that. And I'm just really a big time enthusiast when it comes to not only mentoring in IT, but just learning and teaching and stuff like that. I think my retirement plan is going to probably be like some kind of professorship or something like that. I think that'll be really, really cool. So kind of like you said, I've done a lot in my years. So in my role right now, what I do now is I help customers adopt AI and AI tools.
Okay.
So we're more like hey, we're interested, we like this. I come in, I show them like, hey, here's how AI can work for you. Here's how we bring value to your company. And then once we do that, we show them like, hey, here's how you adopt. Here's how you get your people using. Here's how you get your champions working. This is how you
Gotcha.
really turn yourself into an AI-powered organization. Outside of work, like I said, I'm a very big enthusiast. I do some public speaking. I spoke at ByteCon. I'll be speaking at TechX in a couple months.
Awesome.
I'll be doing a talk at Polytech. I'll be going to Black Men Excel in October in Orlando. That's going to be really, really exciting for me. One of the crowning achievements I've done this in the last year or two is I created like a 4-week summer mentorship program at Hillsborough Community College
That's amazing.
Where we took 4 years. I mean, I keep saying 4 years. That's what it feels like, right? So we did 4 weeks where we mentored 9 cybersecurity majors, and the rest were computer science. And basically, we just mentored them, gave them classes, gave them initiatives, created a hackathon, different projects and stuff like that over a 4-week period. It was really amazing. I can't tell you how much I loved every minute of it. It was just like the highlight of my summer, and we just completed that program, had our graduates, and they're going to go off and do great things. And I'm just looking forward to seeing how that pans out. I'm not really. One thing you'll notice about me is I'm not really good at talking about myself.
That's usually a good sign, though. Like,
Yeah.
like it's not that you want to, have to drag stuff out of you, but like a person who really is into themselves, you have to cut them off. You're like, hey, so let's let's steer back over here. So no, that's good. That's a good sign.
Exactly.
But no, I have to commend you on the 4-week program. Like that's dope. I started around 2003, so that was my entry into the military and what have you. Yeah, it wasn't until maybe the past 10 years or so I started to see where they're actually doing a lot more of that mentorship and pulling people in, and uh, getting a better understanding of what IT is, what cyber is. Like, because when I was going through school, because I did a year in community college, there really wasn't that mentorship, so to speak. Like, I was a computer science major to begin with, so I always say I'm a computer science dropout. The math got really math. Like it was mathing my butt off, and I petered out at calculus. I just didn't have the discipline right at the time, nor the mentorship and everything that I gained while I was in the military. So it's really cool to see that that's uh, something that's being championed a lot more. And I think it's going to be great for not only our field, but for computer scientists, for any type of IT major and things of that nature. So I definitely commend you on that.
I find out, exactly, especially when I like read your book, right? It demystifies a lot of stuff. When you have that mentorship, you can have that one-on-one. You bring in the speakers and they talk to them. They talk to the students about their journey. And then we created like one-on-one where we assigned a mentor to each student in the program and stuff like that. Demystifying, getting that, because there's like a stigma, especially when you get to a higher level of IT and stuff like that, this ain't for me. You get that and we talked about this when we met, right? That imposter
Right.
syndrome. I mean, I think programs like this kind of help them feel like get a sense of belonging and get past that type of stuff. And that's why I really, really enjoyed it. Personally, my mentee, I mean, the progression that he made over a 4-week program is just still to me pretty breathtaking. He went from this really smart kid, shy, kind of introverted, but what he turned into was leading his group, being the ringmaster, coordinating, really like just. And I pushed him a little bit. I'm like, hey man, if you want to do that, you have to coordinate it. You have to organize it and stuff like that. So I just love seeing that stuff, man. It's just like, that's what is to me. That's kind of what brings joy to me. That's why the
Yeah.
program is so great.
Definitely, and it's different than what a lot of us received when we first started, right? Like from your, not people who weren't necessarily trying to teach you, right? They're kind of like, did you Google that? Like people who were self taught want you to self teach yourself, right? Which is fine to a certain extent, like as long as you're showing that you're trying, right? But it was kind of mean spirited, right? You're like, hey, I'm stuck on this thing. I'm trying to work this problem out. Well, did you Google it? Like, so I'm glad that we've gotten past that kind of, I don't know, like initiation or hazing, so to speak. I also have to commend you on your retirement plans. Like to give back after you retire is also commendable, because my plan is just to go down to Costa Rica and disappear, or somewhere in the Caribbean, not teaching nobody
Costa Rica,
nothing.
that's so awesome, dude.
I'm out.
So
I'm out of here.
that's the place. That's the place, right? Costa Rica. Okay, I get you. I get you.
And that's what I hear. I hear like cheap living, like, or if you want to go to Europe, disappear one of those little villages or one of those little towns, go to Sicily. Let's
Yeah, well,
blend in with the
yeah,
locals.
man. I don't think we can do too much blending, but that's a here nor
Right.
that's neither
You
here
got to
nor
kind of pick
there,
your
right?
region, right, for that.
You're like, you're not from around here, anyway.
Right. So what kind of sparked your interest in IT? Like, were you like a tinkerer, or did you pivot from something else? Like, how'd you get in?
So crazy story, right? And I also want to pivot eventually to why I came on this show, right? And
Yeah,
kind of
absolutely.
how I fit into your world, right? So, I'm sorry. My mother was a math whiz, right? So my mom majored in math. She went to school for math. She was a math fanatic, right? So she was actually, I don't know if you've seen the movie Hidden Figures, but my mom was very similar to those ladies in that movie. She worked for Honeywell on one of the programs, and she was quote unquote computer, right? So, that really helped spark my interest and just being technical and really learning about things. I was also one of those kids my mom used to tell me I'm destructive. I like to take stuff apart and put stuff back
Right.
together. She's like, "You're so destructive." That's what my mom used to tell me all the time. So doing that, kind of taking stuff apart, putting stuff back together, I kind of wanted to see how things work. One of my favorite shows on TV growing up when I was a kid, we didn't have a lot of options like we do now. So I used to watch the show called How It's Made. That used to fascinate me. How they make stuff, right? Like, like, oh, that's gonna turn into that. That's so awesome.
Yeah, it's
Right?
never the way I thought in my head. People like that process was not the way I thought they did it.
Exactly, right? So I was really interested in that. That really sparked my interest, just learning how stuff is made. So ultimately, I took that passion and stuff like that, and I, believe it or not, really got into the Cosby Show. And I'm gonna tell you where I'm take it with this. And then I decided, hey, I kind of want to be a stand-up comedian now. I love.
Okay.
So I used to religiously watch the Cosby Show constantly. Like, think Bill Cosby. But that's kind of a tangent I took
Right.
in life. And I was like, I want to be a comedian. I think that's so cool to just stand up in front of a stage and just tell jokes and people laugh at you. So obviously that's not, logical, right? Or realistic, right? Unless you have a deep passion for it. So here I am back into my computer stuff. And then I found out that I had dyslexia, right?
Oh, okay.
So I had I really struggled with reading and comprehension, right? And I still struggle with to this day. But numbers and analytics, numbers made sense to me. I did well in math. I did well in logical, like, hey, 1+1 is 2 and all that stuff. When I had to read a book and then try to remember what it said and all that stuff, I struggled with that. But when it came to numbers and I was even good in accounting, right? Just numbers and stuff just made sense to me. So I kind of went through life, I was struggling in everything, but I was taking calculus 2 and, algebra and stuff like that, but I was struggling in a lot of the other classes. So then I went on to junior college. I worked in the computer lab there, worked in the front office doing stuff like that, just really interested in computer stuff. And also I really enjoyed business and marketing and stuff like that. So my initially thought was I was going to be an engineer. So I then moved on from being an engineer and kind of just started doing business. Then I transferred over to University of Central Florida from St. Petersburg Junior College. And I was a marketing major, believe it or not. So I'm sitting there and I figured, hey, I'm just going to take a minor, still working in the computer lab at UCF. So then I have this thing where I take VB, Visual Basic. I crush it, right? And I took it just on a whim. So then I'm like, hey, let me maybe look at being a minor in information security, information systems, right? Take a few classes. Turns out I got a second degree in managing information systems. Kind of left the marketing side, even though I really enjoyed the marketing piece. But my first marketing job, I was making $24,900.
Okay.
You really got to love it to do
Yeah,
it.
you gotta. Yeah, that's a passion at that point.
Right. So, in all fairness, too, right? If you want to be, later on in life, you could have a major customer portfolio and make millions as a marketing person. But this just wasn't me. And then I heard about this thing called IT, where people were they were getting signing bonuses, man, back in the day. Back in 2000, if you were if you got a degree in IT and you were really sharp, you were getting a signing bonus like you was an NFL player. It's crazy. So I said, well, I'm pretty good at this. I mean, it's kind of in me, right? My mom was a math major and I've been doing computers. So I decided to just go ahead and get that degree, that second degree in information systems. So that's kind of how I came into it. And I can keep going on the journey, but it goes on into my professional year. But that was my college years.
No, that's really good, and that's a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't. I'm trying to sound derogatory. People who don't do it, but they don't know. They don't feel comfortable switching majors or switching gears. Right? They're like, well, I spent all this money or I spent all this time, so this is what I'm going to do. And they don't have a passion for whatever that thing is, or that market doesn't quite work out. So it's good to hear from people who decide that, I know I did a pivot. Like, this is something I did enjoy, but I saw something that I was also really good at and then I could also enjoy, or that it paid more money. And, maybe later on you can be a marketer down in Costa Rica. Like, who knows? Like, sky's the limit. The sky's the limit, right? But, but I say it to say, it's good to hear that, because again, I was a computer science major, and I had a point where I was just like, I cannot math anymore. Like I
Right.
have peaked and I need to do something different. And but my journey was psychology. Like, so I did the thing where I looked at what classes am I doing good in? It was like sociology, psychology, business organization. I was like, I'm gonna go do that. And then after I finished my bachelor's, I started my master's in it. And I was like, I don't like this as much as I thought. So I pivoted back to IT. But like, it's good to have those conversations. Well, I'm glad that we can talk about that to the audience on here as well. So, are you originally from Florida? Like, is Florida
Yeah.
your oh, okay,
So I was so oddly enough, I was born in St. Peter, Florida.
okay,
Um, when I left for college, so I did 6 years. So just so you know, I did 6 years in college because I got the 2 degrees. You gotta, speaking about commitment, you gotta be like, dang, I got to spend another couple of years in college.
right,
So that's a whole nother thing, right? So yeah, I left I left in 1999. I left to go to UCF, and I didn't come back until I didn't come back for a while. But I really thought inside my heart that this was a great place to raise a family,
hmm
and that's what I do now. So I got my family here, sunshine all the time. Disney World's like 45 minutes from the
right,
house. I mean, like, I got kids. We go on cruises and stuff. I really think Florida, this Central Florida area, is a great place to raise a family. So that's why I decided to come back and live here permanently. And that's, I live here now. I live in the Tampa Bay area. I don't live in St. Pete, but I live in the Tampa Bay area. So I'm really happy here.
yeah, I agree with you. Like, politics aside, right? It gets kind of crazy down here, but you can't beat the weather. You can't. The industry's always booming. Housing market, like, I don't know if that's gonna continue to boom in the states in general, but they're building so many houses here, man. Like, people are moving down in droves. So I think it is definitely a good area. But when I tell people I'm in Florida, they're like, "When are you leaving? Like, you gonna get out of there?"
Nah,
Like it's
man.
Escape from LA, right? Like, I'm trapped in here.
It doesn't, yeah, the weather and stuff doesn't scare me. It scares a lot of people. It doesn't really scare me, right? Because I've been through it, right? It looks worse on TV. I tell people all the time, look, guys, when you see the dude standing in the middle of the street,
Well, yeah, getting
almost
blown down the
falling over
street.
himself, that's like the worst part of the storm. Most of the time, it's not that. I mean, like, it looks worse on TV. I don't want to, knock on wood because, next couple of months, something crazy happens.
Right.
For the most part, it looks worse on TV, trust me. And I tell people that because I always get those phone calls. You all right down there? We saw the news.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But no, so see the passion, see that you've made a commitment to to go forth and conquer. When it came to work, you were kind of joining the workforce. I would say at a really good time. Like, I could be wrong, thinking back 23 years is kind of hard. I would assume that with the bonuses and people, companies really looking for IT folk and things of that nature. Like, how was your transition into the market?
So my transition was interesting, right? So one of the good things about going to a major university like a UCF, I'm not plugging my school, but I'm plugging my school.
My my daughter goes to USF, so I got it.
Yeah, yeah. And I went to USF for a while too. And trust me, the USF you see now is not the UCF. I'm sorry, the USF you see now is not the USF I went to.
I heard that. Yeah, I've heard
It's
that before.
crazy now. Even when I go to St. Pete, it's amazing, right? So definitely a much better school now. But the thing I will tell you is this, right? Being at a major university, at a major area for business and industry, I was able to get a job while I was a junior in college. Man, now granted, I'd only been about 1 year in the IT,
Okay,
and they had this thing called they had like an industrial park near the university, right, where you had
gotcha.
like businesses and stuff like that. So first I got a summer internship at an incubator. So if you don't know what an incubator is, an incubator is a center that basically helps startup businesses grow their business, and that's kind of what an incubator was. So I interned at an incubator once, and then following that I got a job, my first job in government, which was a major project. Anybody that knows might know this story, right? I worked at the company for a project called NMCI, which was like Navy Marine Corps Intranet, which was like, at the time, it was the largest IT contract ever signed. So basically, they were basically creating a brand new infrastructure cloud domain for the Navy and Marines. So it was ginormous, right? The huge effort. So imagine every Navy, every Marine base going into one domain. So they had something called Nav Air Orlando, which is in that research park that I told you about earlier. So luckily I was able to go there. I got a job through a friend and say, hey, They just need guys to do PC maintenance type stuff, replace computers and stuff. I said, okay, I'm good. But the biggest turning point that job gave me was it gave me an interim secret clearance.
There you go. Okay.
And that pretty much set the trajectory for my entire career in IT. So the reason why I do so much work within DoD and federal government is because I started out with that clearance, and not to influence anybody on the call, but a security clearance opens a lot of doors, especially in IT with government, right? Once you get that clearance, I mean, there's a lot of jobs where you have to have a clearance. So of course, for that reason, I had a lot of opportunities once I got that clearance, and I pretty much stayed there. I did a little bit of time in commercial, and it was fun, but the security and the stability of having that secret clearance with that secret clearance, definitely. And then I got upgraded and, a whole thing, stuff that, I cannot talk about. But yeah, it was really, really interesting. And in addition to that, because of my clearance, I was able to travel, right? So because we have military facilities in different countries and stuff like that, it gave me the ability to travel with the government and do different projects and stuff like that. Really gave me a global stage as far as like how industry works. I got to understand different SOFA agreements and all these different things within the industry, within the countries that I travel to, and understand how their IT infrastructure work with the local nationals and stuff like that. It's really an amazing experience for me that pretty much that one job and that clearance set me on a path to that particular way. So there's a lot to unpack within that 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
but
Right.
we don't have enough time to unpack all that, but yeah, so that's kind of where it started.
Yeah,
With
no,
that clearance.
and
Yeah.
that's a really good, not callback, because you and I have not spoken about that, but in the past on the podcast we've talked about the benefits of either being in the military, right, part of the Department of Defense, or being within the DIB, the Defense Industrial Base. Like there's a lot of perks and benefits into getting your foot in the door, and just not trying to be too heavy handed, but with the audience members and things of that nature. Because I don't want to say, oh, you should join the military, but you should do something adjacent to the Department of Defense in some capacity if you can, if you're trying to get your foot in the door. Just because minimum requirements, like you said, a lot of jobs require a clearance of some capacity, right? I didn't even know much about clearances and things of that nature before I joined the military, but the career field that I had picked, you need a TS. I didn't know that, right? I just so happened to say, okay, I want to be a networking guy, right? I think switching and routing is cool. And because a lot of my work would be on, again, switches and routers, you don't know exactly where they may be. So the Air Force put a rubber stamp on it, like, okay, everybody has to have a TS just in case you get plugged in with the NSA or, task force or what have you. And that, it's a boon, right? It definitely opens up those doors to things of that nature. So, if you are trying to break in, like, see what you have in your local area. Like, is there either, again, the Department of Defense, something adjacent in the DIB, or even local federal, sometimes requires clearances and things of that nature as well.
Yep.
So,
Federal civilian.
yeah,
So it's like you said, man, imagine you have a pool of, say you have 100 people that are applying for a job, right? And only 10 of them have clearance. Now all of a sudden you're only going against 10 people as opposed to 100 people, right? So it shrinks the pool. But if that type of work is for you, it's not for everybody because the government does move very slow. Not very,
right.
they're great, but the innovation is a little bit slower than working in commercial. Because I mean, I worked in commercial, and it's just like, yo, sounds good, let's do it.
Yeah,
There's no approvals. There's nothing like that. Once you get that one guy that runs the shop to say, okay, I like that idea. Let's do it. Here's the money. But, there is a drag on innovation in some
right.
ways. So if that's not for you, that's just to kind of keep that in mind, right? I tell people that.
No, absolutely. And like you said, it is a very big ship, so it is hard for it to change course. But it's loaded with cash. So at least when you do get the equipment, you have a budget
Right.
to purchase and
Right.
sustain. But no, that all good points. So where does uh the need or the want come from to spread the wealth when it comes to knowledge and opening doors, things of that nature? Because there is a lot of gatekeeping, unfortunately, when it comes to any industry, right? To include IT, cybersecurity, all the above. But just in speaking to you in the short time we did at the event, I could tell that you like to give back to the community. You like to share the wealth. Where does that passion come from?
Well, I mean, quite frankly, I think that we have a lot of people in this industry that suffer from imposter syndrome, right? And we also have a lot of people in the industry that believe a career, I mean, and we're talking like high level, IT positions is not attainable, especially for people of color, right? So one of the things that I like to do is say like, hey, this is possible. If you work hard and you're smart. I tell the story about one of my really good friends that I work with this in my company. He never even got, I mean, I don't, before we do that, I don't want to advocate this. Please go to school, but he doesn't even have a degree,
Right.
but he's just smart. So if you have a passion for it and you're smart, you can find a path, right? And they have to see it, right? It's kind of like when you talk to people all the time, right? And you're like, hey, I make all, like you see these people on TV like, oh, I made all this money and blah, blah, blah. They're selling you this dream. It really makes it real when you see the dream and you can say like, hey, and you can touch it and you can ask it questions and you can give you advice and tell you like, hey, here's what you should think about. Here's the path that you should take. And then I get the email or the LinkedIn message 6 months down the road saying like, hey, Mr. Davis, I just got a job doing networking or
That's awesome. Yeah.
whatever type of job. I mean, dude, that to me is awesome, right? And I just like to say like, hey, I had a and I helped this person become what they wanted to be. And there's no greater gift in the world than that, man. I mean, other than like a lotto check for like $1 billion, I think that's what it's up to right
All
now.
right.
That'd be good too. If you out there listening, universe. I hadn't even played yet. I'm just joking. But yeah, so that's where the passion comes from, man. Just giving back to what people didn't necessarily give to me. And just, taking that hand up. I mean, I would like to say like, oh, I had this guy, this person, but at the end of the day, it was just I have a thing on my wall back there. It's called grit. And that's kind of what worked for me. If I can make it a little bit easier for somebody and take that fear away, I think it's worth it. 100%.
Yeah. No, and that's a great philosophy to have. Not only, again, representation matters, right? Like if you can see it, you can achieve it. You can achieve it regardless, but it is to know that there is a path, right? And like you said, to be able to touch it, ask a question, things of that nature. I think it's powerful. Like when I did the panel, after the panel, I had a young gentleman and lady walk up to me and start asking me questions, and you just like you get that energy off of them. Like, okay, like yeah, that's real cool that they felt that I would be the person that, okay, he looks like me, sounds like me, might be from where I'm from, and hopefully, say you're reading the book. I'm not going to ask you for any kind of review on the air, because you're like, yo, it is not good.
So funny, dude.
That's
So
what I was
funny.
trying to get in the book, right? Like,
Yeah. I really wish that we would have had, I really wish that the schedule would have worked out because I really wanted you to come and talk to my kids. But I mean, I understand that the schedule didn't work out between us.
well, yeah. But if
Yeah,
the opportunity ever arises again, man, like definitely like to do something
so
like that.
based on the success that we had over the summer, we forged a great partnership with the universities. Not only this one, but Polytech's probably going to be the same way. USF. We forged a really great relationship that we can replicate next summer. And then we have some other big things in the work. We have some other big things in the works. I don't want to talk about it because it's not my place to talk about it yet. But yeah, there'll definitely be some opportunities for you, you know, and I'll definitely call on you. But hey, man, we talked about this. I think, your book is kind of what I do a little bit in real life. I mean, like behind the firewall, right? Like I said, I don't want to talk about I don't want to disclose the company that I work for, but like there's certain prestige, like, certain companies like, wow, you work for
Right.
such and such. Yeah. I had a dream. Like I always wanted to work for this company since I was a little kid, and I went out and I made it happen. So definitely behind the fire, like how did you get here and stuff like that. So I don't know if that makes sense what I'm saying.
No, it does. It does. Like I said, I think that's a thing that either I was not aware of it 2 decades ago when I came into the field, or like I truly believe like in the past decade, like there's been a real surge in not only getting people into the STEM pipeline, but also because like you said, you don't necessarily need a degree, but like I will never discourage anybody from going to school. It's just like if school's not your thing though, like you can still make it in this field if you have the passion and the wherewithal to keep pushing. So no, I think those are all great points. So them tech folks, right? So the podcast, right?
Uh-huh.
The Develop Every Mind. How did that collaboration come to being? Like, Was it like you already knew Ebony and Rico, and then you guys decided to form
No,
the
so
podcast?
it's a funny story. So it kind of came about with Rico. He kind of sent up like a bat signal. Because funny story, we started out with a lot of people, and then over the years, it just kind of fleshed out. Some people fell off, some people
Gotcha.
came on and stuff like that. So eventually, we ended up with the core three that you see right now. But we basically wanted to present a picture of what it is to be diverse in IT, right? So if you notice, Rico, the co-host, he has dreads,
Mhm.
has beard and everything like that. If you notice me, I'm, black dude, heavy set, not a very flashy dress or anything like that. And I joke around when I say that. And then we have Ebony, who gives you a great perspective from the female standpoint, where she talks about like, hey, I'm a black female cybersecurity leader.
Right.
And a lot of times, and she'll tell you, like, when she's in the room, sometimes she's the only one, right? And just giving you a glimpse of that and presenting that and talking, real talk, but just in that regard, right? So that's kind of how it all came to pass. And that's kind of the image that we wanted to project. And, Rico had the idea about a year or so ago to kind of attach some education to that piece, right? As far as develop every mind. So, he does like the Discord and stuff like that to kind of to do some teaching and stuff like that and some education. So that's kind of how it came about. Like I said, we have fun with it, man. I mean, quite honestly, we have like a structured show, but I'm telling you right now, we have much better shows when we just kind of sit down and just chat and just talk,
Right.
right? And that's kind of what we've been doing a lot more lately. Like we used to have like a guest every week, and we like do this whole thing where we try to like stick to a bunch of questions and stuff like that. But, we just have a lot of fun when we just kind of sit down and just kind of talk. I feel like that's kind of where our sweet spot is, because we're both, we're all funny. We're very entertaining. We're introverts, but around each other, we're not. So that helps as well.
No, definitely. Like I definitely enjoy the show. You said so. I've only met Ebony in person, and then so in person 2 times. So I've never been on the show or anything like that. So I met her in person both times. So she's an introvert. She could definitely switch it on when necessary. That's not the necessarily the vibe I got from her, which is not a bad thing because I'm an introvert as well, right? So I respect it.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that at our last. Like we talked a lot about being introverts and
Yeah,
kind of
and I was
challenges that
running it
come
back in my
along with
head, and I
that.
was like, "Did I just call these extroverts vampires, like, to their face?" Like, so introverts get it, but, like, when you're around a lot of people who are extroverts and very lively, like, you could feel it getting pulled away, like, the energy, because you have to you try to match energy, but they there's no matching them.
Right.
So
You said it.
you wind up drained.
Yeah, you said it, like, you try to match it, right? I mean, and kinda like what we were talking about, right? A lot of times, it's exhausting just being in that environment, like, you just like, man, like so I just came back from Virginia. We had, this AI business solutions, conference thing, and yeah, man, it takes a lot out of me. I get back to my hotel room, and I'm like I'm sleeping like a baby, I'm tired, just because
Right.
I have to be on, right? I can't be like the guy sitting in the corner eating his french fries by himself, writing his name in ketchup. I can't do that when I'm
Right.
when I'm in those types of environments. So I have to be introverted. I have to talk. I have to integrate. I have to like learn and stuff like that. So we talked about that a lot. The funny thing about it, a lot of people in our field are introverts, right? You meet those extroverts sometimes and you're just like, man, you don't know how they do it and still be so smart.
Right, like, where do you get all this energy from? Like, I think I was talking about the other day, I was like, there was times when I used to commute back and forth to McDill. When I would come back home, I'd just drive back home with the radio off. Just sit in silence. I just need to just mellow out
Yeah,
before
man.
I
I
get home.
mean, people, if you were in the car with me, you think I'm crazy because I talk to myself a lot. I talk, I think out loud, right? That's what I call it. I think out loud. Like, I don't, like, I'm not talking to myself having a conversation, but I'm saying my thoughts out loud, right? And, the wrong person hears that and they be like, what's going on? What's going on over there?
Like,
Like,
who
you
you
talking
talking
to
to?
yourself? It's like, no, man, I'm not answering myself. I'm just saying my
Right.
thoughts out loud so I can kind of reason what's going on in my head and stuff like that. That's kind of what I equate it to, right? I kind of want to talk about a little bit about why I fit how I fit into the cybersecurity world.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the main goals that I do, and one of the things that I do when I when I meet with customers, and some of the things that I talk about and stuff like that is something that we call data readiness. So data readiness is the template security and compliance that we do to prepare an organization for AI. So say you were to implement an AI solution, right? You don't want Johnny in accounting to see emails from the CEO, right? Because that semantic index gets built on all the data that it has available to it. So preparing yourself by putting labeling, data lifecycle management, DLP,
Hmm.
stuff like that. It's kind of one of the things that I do as far as helping with customers. And that's kind of how I fit into the cyber world and how I immerse myself in cyber. So I know this show is talking about, CISSP, but I just kind of want to kind of level set on how I fit into the cybersecurity and governance world.
Right.
And I do that quite a bit. I mean, that's kind of like, that's our starting point, right? So we want to make sure that you know what your data is, where it is, and who has access to it before we start deploying a solution that will give everybody access to everything, right? And that's where a lot of organizations fall short, and that's where a lot of organizations run into issues, right? So we've seen that in the past. We roll out other products and tools roll out, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, this is some huge data leakage. Well, I'm not gonna tell you something, right? Because the AI tools sit on top of your current security posture, right? So you may or may not know it, right? But your stuff's out there. All these AI tools do when they build these semantic indexes is just expose it, right? So I spend a lot of time with customers going through data readiness, going through all that type of stuff, governance, data governance and stuff like that. And I spend a lot of time with customers doing that before we deploy our AI solutions. So that's how I'm in B-sides and I'm doing a lot of cybersecurity stuff. It's like,
Right.
hey, I thought you did AI. It's like, yeah, I do AI, but as a part of as part of AI, data readiness is a key component of that. And that's kind of what I do a lot of as well.
So I'm glad you brought that up because I think there used to be this thing, or there still could be, right? It's just depending on your circles, where people would intermingle IT and cyber as one thing, right? And they're not. They're not the same thing. Like, so by trade, I was an IT guy, switching routing, all that cool stuff. But you can be an IT person and not care about cyber, which would be a huge mistake. But for the first quarter of my career, that is exactly what we did. We did not care. Like, it's like, how quickly can we get this network built? How
Turn it
quickly
off.
can we get this
Turn it
going?
off. Yep.
Right. And then over time we learned, what about your access list? What about, your network segmentation? There was all these things that we were just like you said, turn it on. We got to hurry up and get up as quickly as possible. And I think the same thing is happening within the AI field. Like, there's a lot of people who are chasing the AI ghost, right? They feel like they're behind. Just hurry up and implement it. Let's get it. So it's good to just see that someone like yourself and your team are doing the preparedness, because I've talked to people who don't necessarily understand like tagging and labeling of their data, which, I mean, it's not for everybody. Like, everybody doesn't have to be technically minded. But if you don't understand it or you don't have an answer for it, then you need to speak to someone who is proficient within that area and not just fire it up. Because like you said, you don't want Johnny from accounting to be able to see email from, whomever in logistics or what have you. So a lot of people are being upset about the wrong things, right? You did not prepare yourself, like you said, which I think that's a really good, not only to make people aware, but also to put people on. You have to prepare yourself before you chase this AI ghost that everybody's chasing. You can't just flip the switch. Like, figure it out. Cause I do a lot of telling people, like, what about your, simple cyber hygiene when it comes to AI? Have you guys decided on a user agreement? Like, what is the policy going forward? Like, what data cannot be shared? Where is this data stored? X, Y, and Z. And they're not thinking about that. They're just like, hey, how do I get whatever this model is into my environment as quickly as possible?
Yeah, and there's a lot of framework. So when you look at that, right? So government requires that government organizations have like an AI council as part of their AI rollout and stuff like that. And you know, I say this because people don't think about it, but governance, GSC, governance, security, and compliance, they go together, right? I know a lot of your listeners may look at that, but there is a lot of money in governance and compliance, right? Not just security, right? It's all encompassing
Yeah,
together,
absolutely.
but that's the one piece that people tend to forget about is governance and compliance, right? They think, oh, I'm going out and I'm like, I'm stopping Johnny Blaze from hacking the
Right.
network and stuff like that. But that governance and compliance and stuff like that, there's a lot of, and let me tell you something, it's not easy. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work organizing, making sure data and everything is compliant. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So in the military, we have KM folks, right? Knowledge management officers or what have you. And I never envied their job because users do not care. Like you can tell them like, okay, this stuff belongs over here. This is how we're going to build a SharePoint. This is how you're going to categorize your data. And then when you go into the drive, it's just stuff. You're like, but you didn't do any of what I just said.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And again, like I said, not to scare anybody, but if that data isn't properly governed, that data is discoverable by anybody who has access to your AI, to your environment, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. Also, data hygiene, making sure you get rid of old non-compliant documents. I work with NARA and a bunch of another major government organizations and stuff like that. So definitely, something to kind of keep in mind as you start your AI journey. But I kind of want to kind of tie that into like your show and how, my job fits a lot into what you do on your show when we talk about security and compliance.
No, absolutely. And not to be hyperbolic, right? Because I obviously have a bias because that's my field is cybersecurity. Uh,
Right. Right.
but I don't think a lot of people like cyber is not only a buzzword. Like it's something you actually have to abide by. Like people are just like, we'll get to it, right? If you're a mom and pop, super dangerous. But like you said, when you're working with large organizations, trillion dollar companies, the Department of Defense, like it's not a game. Like this stuff is highly regulated, and you'll be slapped with fines or you'll be terminated, right? Like we'll have to get you out of there. Like it's like people are just not in the know because they just haven't been exposed to those type of environments. So no, it's a good conversation to have, and I'm glad you came full circle with it to make sure
So
we cover
Ryan,
those
what's the
bases.
worst? What's the nightmare of all these federal organizations and major Fortune 5s and stuff like that companies?
So in my humble opinion, right, from my perspective, it's the lack of identity access management, right? It's the bad guy being able to get in, create
Nope,
its own admin accounts and move laterally,
nope.
or
That's not
all
it.
right,
That's not it.
what is it?
I'm gonna tell you one of the biggest things that a lot of the C-suite people talk to me about is that newspaper headline is their biggest fear.
Right, the
That
PA nightmare.
headline in the news about a data breach or,
Right,
that is their biggest fear, right? I'm telling you, they're like, hey man, we don't want to wind up on the news. I need to
right.
come and fix this.
But you
That
have that's completely in their control. It's like when you go to the dealership and you ask them what the rates are. They're like, "Well, what's your credit score?" Like you're in control of the credit score, right? Like so,
right?
like your credit score determines the rate. So, and again, showing my bias, I'm in the financial sector. Like we have multiple lines of defense to catch it, to fix it, or to correct it before it gets to a regulator. Like that's again because once it gets to a regulator, then it's going to wind up on Wall Street and Main Street, and heads will roll. Right, fines will be charged and things of that nature. There's no excuse for that. Like you are in control of it. Not only are you in control of potentially being on the headlines, right? Like you could say plenty of different companies, right? Like United Health or Verizon or all these people who have all these breaches, but you are completely in control in the response and getting back on your feet, right? Like you're in control of because everyone's susceptible to breaches. Like there's two type of companies. I forget who quoted that, but it's those who have been breached and those who do not know they've been breached, right?
Man, now you're talking about the zero trust model.
Right. So like it's coming. You know that you're a target, whether you be a soft target because they want your PII or PHI, or you're a more hard target where they want to get your intellectual properties or be able to ransom you, right? Because you're a large organization. So in my humble opinion, again, because I'm not in a C-suite, so I'm just a guy who's shaking my fist at the clouds. You understand you've done a business impact analysis. You understand how bad it would be if you show up in the New York Times or AOL.com or whatever people are reading nowadays. So why are you not hedging your bets and mitigating risks? Because you're gambling. Like that is something like because I think what a lot of people who are in the Department of Defense like myself, when you come out and you do see the mom and pops and you get to see how they don't have $1 billion budget like I had in the Department of Defense, or where they get to move at the speed of light, like you were talking about earlier in the conversation, as opposed to the Department of Defense could be 5 to 10 years behind because they're measuring 10 times, not even once, right? Like they wait a long time sometimes to implement things. It's the Wild Wild West out here. Like And it's good from a job security standpoint. There's lots of opportunity to help people mature, to correct, to fix, and things of that nature. But so the bad guys are saying the same thing. They're like, it's a lot, like they're rubbing their hands together like Birdman. They're like, it's a lot of opportunity out here because people are not hedging their bets. They're just like, you know what? They probably won't get me. I probably won't hit the lotto. I'm
Right.
going to be okay,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. So that's why the approach that we do a lot of times is that we call it SFI, which is Security First Initiative, right?
Okay.
We want to go into a conversation leading with security as leading with the security in the conversation. So SFI is a pretty big deal. We really, I mean, I love it. I think that approach is good. But you just got to imagine, right? So my job is to bring business value and help companies realize their business value. So imagine if me as a company, that data breach is the opposite of business value. So
Right.
definitely want to make sure that we get things squared away. So, and that's kind of what I wanted to, kind of bring to the light here as we talk to those C-suite executives and what they look at in terms of like, hey, don't make sure I don't end up in the New York Times. Don't make sure I don't end up on some MSNBC, CNN about some data breach.
Right.
Please, that's my number one.
That's a really good point to bring up. And I'm always surprised at who listens to the show. Like, so again, we're available on all your podcast platforms of choice. However, now that we're on the radio, like I think today or yesterday, I had a person follow me, and I always check in on the follows if I see them pop up just to see what industry they're in, see if like maybe I want to further this connection because we may know the same people, or I may be interested in having you on the show or whatnot. But I clicked on the name and it said Atlanta mayoral candidate. And I was like, huh? So this person
Right?
probably was listening to the radio, or their people were listening to the radio and they saw it. It's both, again, the imposter syndrome kicks in, right? Like, okay, the show, people were listening to it that aren't just people who are trying to break into the industry, but it may be somebody who is adjacent in some way, or someone who is interested in it because like this gentleman is big into business. So you would assume that cyber is interest of his or his teams as well. So it's good to have that perspective. So I appreciate you bringing it up. So it like obviously podcaster over here. So I appreciate you steering the conversation where it needs to go, right? But before I let you go, so we have a couple minutes left. What do you do outside of your great initiatives, right? Again, the work that you're doing in the industry is fantastic and cutting edge. Right? AI is still the tip of the spear, so to speak. But as
Absolutely.
well as your mentorship and you're giving back to the community, what are you doing for yourself and your family? What do you do to relax?
So I was born here in this area, right? So Tampa Bay area. So I don't think a lot of people know this, and this may be a good thing or a bad thing, right? But Tampa Bay, Ybor City specifically, is basically the cigar capital of the U.S., right? I don't think people know that. We have a lot of the major cigar families are from here, and we have the oldest cigar factory in the United States is here in Tampa. So my biggest thing is I'm really into cigar culture.
Okay.
I love smoking. I like smoking cigars. I love the culture. I love the discussions, the friends that I meet and stuff like that when I'm out smoking cigars. I love hanging out with my friends smoking cigars. So yeah, big. So that's kind of what I do at work and outside of work. So sometimes I sit with the stogie at the cigar shop with my laptop and I work a lot too. I'm just hanging out with my family, Obviously I like to eat, right? I'm not trying to act like I'm, Slim Shady over here. I love food too. So we go out and we eat from time to time. So yeah, so those are a few of the things that I like to do. But yeah, so, and of course my family is awesome. I have a wife. We just celebrated our 20-year anniversary. I think I talked to you about that trip.
Congratulations. Yeah,
Yeah, we did 4 countries on our trip.
that's
So
awesome.
obviously I really, really enjoy. So like I said, we really, really enjoy traveling. That's like a big thing for us as well. So yeah, that's me, man.
No, that's awesome to hear. One of these days, I'm gonna have to meet you down there for a cigar. So I picked up the habit in Turkey, and I'd maybe smoke a cigar once a quarter or what have you.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
it's not necessarily um I'm not in it for the tobacco or the taste or whatever. Like you said, it's the camaraderie. Like it's like going out, hanging out. And I was really surprised that those facilities, like, so I started in like my backyard in Turkey when I was stationed over there. But when the
Yep.
first time I came back to Tampa, then I assumed like in my head, I was thinking like the those rooms that you would see in like the 1920s, where you have the old guys sitting on leather couches and the room is full of smoke. But then when you walk in there, it's like a real dope atmosphere. They have like the central air is in a way that it gets, clears the room, so you're not all sitting there getting smoked out. Like I was like, this is actually really cool. So I've been a couple times, but only here in the in my area, the Western Chapel area. One of these days, I'm gonna meet you down there.
I'm always welcome. I have a good group of guys that I meet usually every Friday. Some old IT vets, some guy, one guy's been in the business for 30 years, another guy been in the business for like 15. So old IT guys, and we all sit down there and we have smoke. And yeah, man, you're more than welcome. Just hit me up anytime and let me know. And I'll even come out and meet you. Cause like I said, there's a certain, I'm being mushy here, but there's a certain connection you make when you sit down with somebody and have a cigar with them and just talk.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. They actually say, like, I have not fact checked this statistic, but I've heard several times that cigar smokers in that type of environment live longer. Like men who smoke cigars in that type of environment live longer than men who don't smoke, because it's therapeutic, right? You're talking, you're meeting people, you're having a good time and interacting, which outweighs the negative aspects of smoking, which is crazy to think that you can never smoke a day in your life, but you take your emotions and bottle them up so much it kills you.
Man, okay,
That's
okay.
deep, right?
Hey, brother, I will definitely be bringing that up to my wife.
Yeah, right.
And my family,
I heard it from a friend of mine. His wife brought up. So I haven't fact checked it, but
nice.
she was like, "Yeah, go have a cigar with him, hang out
Nice.
because these men live longer because they get it out." So
Nice.
yeah, we'll definitely have to do that. But I gotta land this plane. I definitely have to have you back on to talk shop and to catch up as well. We're gonna hang out in real life, but on the podcast so people can hear the conversations and what have you. So definitely hit up all the websites that go by our name, The Other Side of the Firewall, Ask a CISSP. You can hit the website, cyber.io, where you can get all of our services as well as the podcast. If you want to buy the book directly, you can go to theothersideofthefirewall.com. Or if you want to reach out to me or see my portfolio of things, go to ryanwilliamssenior.com. And where can they find you if they're trying to reach out or connect with you?
Well, one of my biggest tools I use is LinkedIn. I'm an avid LinkedIn person. I think that's probably one of the best tools you can use in this day and age.
Absolutely.
Reginald, so let me give, you'll see my beautiful shining face when you do. But if you want my full name, so it'll be Reginald J Davis, MCSA, MCT, until ProSci. All the acronyms are behind them, so that's how it makes it easier to find, because Reginald Davis is a pretty common name, right?
Right, like Ryan Williams. But I'll make sure. That's why I put senior on everything, right? It's a little bit easier to find me.
That's why I put the J, Reginald J Davis, right?
But yeah, I'll definitely put all your links on the show as well. And yeah, I appreciate you jumping on the podcast with me.
No, man, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. For the audience, stay safe, stay secure.